Serena Williams had always been more than just a tennis legend. She was an inspiration, a symbol of perseverance, and proof that hard work and determination could defy any odds. Her story was one of triumph against adversity, and it was this very story that would change the life of a struggling young tennis player named Daniel Carter. Daniel had once been a promising tennis prodigy. His natural talent and relentless dedication had made him a rising star in the junior circuits. But after a string of painful losses, self-doubt began to creep in. Injuries, critics, and the pressure to succeed had taken a toll on him, draining his confidence. The fire that once burned within him had dwindled to embers, and he found himself on the brink of giving up. One evening, after yet another grueling match that ended in defeat, Daniel sat alone on the empty tennis court. His head hung low. The stadium lights above him buzzed softly, illuminating the deep frustration in his eyes. He had given everything he had, but it just wasn't enough. Thinking of quitting? A voice broke through the silence. Daniel looked up to see none other than Serena Williams standing at the edge of the court. He blinked in disbelief. The Serena Williams? He had idolized her for years, but never in his wildest dreams did he expect to meet her, let alone hear those words from her. "I don't know anymore," Daniel admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "Maybe I'm not cut out for this." Serena stepped onto the court and sat next to him, her expression calm but serious. "I know exactly how you feel. When I started, people doubted me. They said I wouldn't last, that I didn't belong in the sport. But you know what I did?" Daniel shook his head. "I proved them wrong," Serena said with a knowing smile. "I fought through every setback, every loss, every critic. And I didn't do it alone. I had people who believed in me, who pushed me even when I doubted myself." Daniel let out a heavy sigh. "Easier said than done." Serena chuckled, standing up. "Come on, show me your serve." Daniel hesitated but eventually picked up his racket. He positioned himself at the baseline, tossed the ball into the air, and struck it with force. The ball sped across the court but landed just outside the line. Serena nodded. "Not bad." Again. Daniel tried again, and again, each time feeling a little more pressure, a little more frustration. Serena watched carefully, her experienced eyes analyzing every movement. "You're hesitating," she finally said. "You're playing with fear instead of confidence." Daniel frowned. "Because I keep losing." Serena crossed her arms. "And you think every champion hasn't lost? You think I've never faced defeat? The key isn't avoiding failure, Daniel. It's learning from it. Now, one more time, but this time own it." Daniel took a deep breath, calmed his thoughts and served again. The ball soared through the air, hitting its mark with precision. He felt the difference, not just in his technique, but in his mindset. Over the next several weeks, Serena took Daniel under her wing. Early morning drills, grueling conditioning, strategy sessions. She pushed him beyond his limits. She taught him not just the mechanics of the game, but the resilience needed to stand tall in the face of defeat. The day of Daniel's comeback tournament arrived. The stadium was packed, the atmosphere electric. His opponent was tough, an experienced player with a powerful track record. Doubts lingered, but then he spotted Serena in the stands, nodding at him. "Believe in yourself," she had told him. "Because I do." The crowd erupted. Daniel had done it. As he stepped off the court, Serena was there waiting. "Told you," she said with a grin. Daniel laughed, shaking his head. "You really did." Months turned into years and Daniel's career flourished. He faced tougher opponents, greater challenges, but he never forgot the lessons Serena had taught him: champions don't quit. And as he stood under the bright lights of yet another final, He whispered to himself the words that had carried him through. Champions don't quit. And with that, the match began. But Daniel's journey didn't end there. With every victory came new challenges. The media attention grew. The expectations skyrocketed. And the weight of proving himself never eased. There were days when exhaustion hit him harder than any opponent. Nights where doubt crept in despite his success. But every time he felt himself slipping, Serena's words echoed in his mind. One evening, after a particularly tough loss against a world-ranked player, Daniel sat in his locker room, his hands shaking. He had given it everything, yet he still fell short. Serena walked in, leaning against the doorframe. Tough match. Daniel sighed. Yeah, feels like I'm never good enough. Serena sat beside him. You ever think about why you started? Daniel looked up at her, confused. You started because you loved the game, didn't you? She continued. Not for the trophies, not for the fame. The moment you stop loving it, you start losing. You're not out there to prove anyone wrong anymore. You're out there because you belong. Daniel took a deep breath, letting her words settle in. He had come so far, but he had lost sight of what truly mattered. Years later, as Daniel stood at the top of the rankings, holding his first Grand Slam trophy, he spotted Serena in the stands, smiling proudly. He lifted the trophy high and whispered to himself once more, Champions don't quit. The story ends here. If you want to hear more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give it a like. Thank you so much for subscribing and liking, and see you in the next story.